Planet Watchers, welcome to Cancer. Hi, Mary Jane.
Hello, hello, Christy. Hope all you folks out there are having an excellent pre-summer and are getting ready to have a very good summer as it goes on now.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we've not really gotten started in summer, at least here around here, because it's gray and cold and rainy.
I tell you, I just got back from a week in the south of France and it's going very strong. And the whole time that I was gone, there was a heat wave going on here in Geneva as well. So I guess we're launched anyway. I hope you can catch up.
Yeah, we'll catch up. We'll catch up.
I feel
Meantime,
certain. I
every
know Kansas
week.
City in the summer.
Yes, absolutely. So I can't believe we're already looking at, we're looking at the summer solstice and we're looking at midsummer.
We
What
are
the heck?
Yeah, I know. It's just clipping along really, really fast. These, what we like to call slow planets, are giving us just a whirlwind effect and making time go fast and things happening all over. So I guess that's good. I don't know.
Oh
Depends
my.
on who you are and where you are, I suppose.
Yes, it does. Now, we are recording this on June 18th, and this past weekend on the 14th, there were these worldwide protests. Was there
Yeah.
anything going on in Europe then?
Well, going on, everyone was plugged into their radios and televisions to watch the news and just couldn't get over the fact that finally people are starting to realize that maybe America should not be a kingdom again, ever. And that there might be something a little better, a little healthier down the line that we can shoot for. So I, for one, and I certainly wasn't alone to say, yes, congratulations to the 5 million folks there in America who were acting up. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, we haven't had a king since 1776, and I don't think.
No, we don't need one.
Oh,
We had one.
oh, oh my goodness. Of course, I was busy that day having a screening of the Journeys into the Soul docuseries. So if you're watching this, please go to journeysintothesoul.com and you can catch the entire docuseries about hypnosis and practitioners all around the world who are doing spiritual type of hypnosis to help people uncover deep answers for themselves.
Exciting. That's exciting stuff. And congratulations. This is so good. Christy's a Leo, as you may or may not know out there. And she's right on time. I've got very good news for all you fire signs and all you air signs. So I think she's a very good example of what you can be looking for.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. In fact, before we started recording, you said that this was right on time for fire signs. Like what? So what do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is that there is finally happening in the sky an alignment of these so-called slow planets, heavy planets. That is to say, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. We count Saturn in there too, although he's one of our private planets, but is active this month. So finally, we're seeing an alignment that looks healthy, that looks like things are going to be happening on a positive level. And these are going on in fire and air signs. So I'm saying that you Leos, you Aquarians too, Libra folks, you're going to be taking advantage of all this. And yeah, it's your turn to get some things organized. It's a very nice chart. And this is going to go on. This very nice alignment of planets is going on through the summer and is going to be, I think, extremely intense and very creative for, again, fire and air signs particularly. Some others of us will pick up the threads, but for you fire signs especially and air signs, there's a new economic structure being made. There are going to be some very surprising turns in political events. Well, welcome to Iran. And I, for one, thought this was a very interesting time. It's a funny thing about this new war breaking out, as horrible as it might be. In the sky, this looks very healthy. And I was extremely touched by the fact that there have been the reason Mossad, the Israeli underground, could get in and set up things so amazingly for this attack on Iran is because there are so many people, Iranian people, wanting this this overthrow to happen. And the Israelis were a necessary evil to finally get rid of the Iranian religious regime. So, yes, it looked horrible from the outside, but it's going to have very good results from the inside. I feel very positive about that for them, for the Iranian folks.
It's such a mess over there anyway. And of course, Israel just committing atrocities against Palestinians in Gaza and everything. It's just a mess, a mess.
At the same time, I do want to talk a minute about the Saturn Neptune cycle that we haven't paid much attention to. But what's happening too is that this Saturn Neptune conjunction right now is also square Jupiter. So what looks like, the realization of a dream, in fact, has some very nasty, illegal, literally illegal side effects. And it's going to invite a lot of undoing, a lot of misdoing. And finally, we're going to see all of the repercussions in the courts of appeals, war crimes. All of this is going to be involved finally in these new actions. But that's okay. We've got to get through that. Where it comes down to on a personal level, and I'm interested in this, there are a few kind of nasty dates for legal and illegal complications on our personal levels as well, especially looking at family or home concerns, buying, selling property. It's a kind of a difficult time to be interested in doing this type of thing. Also in handling, I want to say, legacies, inheritance, problems accompanying this sort of thing are going to be showing up this month. There's some kind of nasty dates that I can point out to you. One is important with the 24th of June, also the 1st of July. The 6th of July is kind of nasty with the moon getting involved in here. Also the 11th and the 16th and the 22nd of July are very difficult dates to be accomplishing anything on a very legal basis, nice, smooth exchanges with people when you're buying and selling. And I'm thinking especially family homes. This gets down to factories as well, family-owned property, family-owned companies. Exchanges like this are going to be very difficult, rather nasty. So while some people are going to be taking wonderful advantage of these movements, they have to be sure that everyone is signing in the right place of any contracts that are going on. And also that your statements and your contracts are going to be legally bonding and legally set up.
Interesting. So things like, I know a couple of people who are in the middle of lawsuits. So it doesn't sound like time for
You bet. There's a lot of that. And it's not a nice, the timing is still a little premature. I think as we get on in the summer, we're going to find a little better window to get things done on a legal basis, in a legal way. I think there are going to be a lot of slowdowns. There are going to be a lot of delays. I'm thinking about the new moon, and maybe now's a good time to talk about it. The new moon is coming up on the 25th of June. This first period, this first 20th to the 27th of June is kind of messy with these things that we're talking about for these exchanges to be going on. It's a very interesting time, astrologically, to be looking to buy or sell a house, renovation as well. Land, property is important in Cancer. But the problems come up in that it's an extremely difficult time to settle on a price or to conclude a deal, again, legally. So you might want to keep your different exchanges on a low fire, keep everything sort of warm, but be ready to act probably later in late July, August. I do want to talk a minute about the new cycle of Saturn and Neptune. The sky is working constantly like a fine Swiss watch. There are cycles within cycles within cycles. Every 2-3 planets have cycles that are going on with other cycles. It's rather complex, very elegant, but rather complex at first glance. But when we break it down and look at some individual cycles, things begin to make really a great deal of sense. The last few months have been spent with the Saturn coming into conjunction with Neptune. These are two elements that are fundamentally different. And at the time of the conjunction, a new cycle is put into place. Saturn, that represents concretion, synthesis, hardness, difficulties, slowdowns, wisdom, reality, all those cruel things that we don't usually like to look at, with Neptune, which is the fog. This is the flou artistique, as we like to say. I'm just not terribly concentrated at all. It's diffusion, it's dreams, it's irreality, illusion also, inspiration, of course. Everything that Saturn really doesn't know how to handle. So when these two planets come into conjunction and set up a new cycle, it's a time when a lot of things can go on. We can either see realization, concrete realization of a dream. This is nice. We're setting into place some ideas to get our dreams on the drawing board and into reality. This is part of it. We can also see a great deal of religious fanaticism. And certainly that's going to be part of the things we were talking about with this exciting, very exciting Pluto, Neptune, Saturn activity together. New fanaticism, or the end of dreams. Saturn is a great one to put a lid on our favorite dreams. Or a concretization, as I said, of a dream. It's time to get things growing and starting. This can happen too. Or we're going to see the shock of drug use. We're going to see a new wave of the new drug out there that's going to create a lot of problems down the line. All of these things are extremely Neptunian, extremely Saturnian, and when they come together, it just makes things happen in the realm of these two planets. So we're going to be looking at that a long time. These are happening in Aries, which is, again, a fire sign, a cardinal sign. It makes things explode. It makes things happen rapidly. And these two planets together are going to be showing us a lot of difficulties in our own personal realizations, heavy-duty reality check on all levels. You know what just comes to mind in Aries? There's going to be a new wave and a new approach to drug analysis in sports. The famous testing on all levels. But again, it's going to be kind of interesting times for professional sports people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, it is. Look for some heads to roll, some important exclamations.
Now, this is interesting because the voices in my head are talking to me right now. And they're saying that this could lead the way to understanding transsexuality even more because
Indeed.
of testing for drugs and finding out that, intersex and different things with human bodies is beyond just two binary sexes. And I think it's going to open things up
A lot. There will be a new wave of finding out hormonal levels that that we can use. First of all, that will be showing this swing that's important in determining our sexuality, among other things. Criminal tendencies, all kinds of things are going to be coming to the surface with this kind of new testing involved.
Interesting. Okay, that excites me a little bit.
Yeah, I think this is a very good thing. I agree. Coming back to Neptune and Saturn, while they're in this conjunction period, they're also receiving a lot of flack from Saturn, from Jupiter, and from Juno this month, especially until the 1st of July. I find that this is a very difficult time for the existence of couples. There's going to be a lot of looking around, a lot of insatisfaction, a lot of falling out of love, a lot of testing, a lot of disenchantment with your love life and with the family situation. So with this in mind, it's a very difficult, uncomfortable relational period. The
Yeah.
same is true, and I have to talk about our famous Venus down here, my favorite planet, but she can be really nasty sometimes. And she's starting a period all month long where she's going to be at her maximum distance from the sun, 45 degrees from the sun, and she's traveling at the same speed as the sun. So this is going to go on all month long. She
Mhm.
gets in trouble with Saturn and Neptune until the 25th at least. So what's happening? A morning star. This is a planet we'll be seeing in the morning.
Right.
But she's tricky here. She's tricky in her position in Taurus, very much at home, of course, but rather selfish. This can be a good thing, of course, but she's weighing and measuring the whole time. What's in it for me? How can I protect my interests? There's not much room for consensus or for negotiation in this particular planet, again, through the month of July. This first week, though, we must pay special attention to not make false decisions about terminations. Give things a little time, give the partners time to talk back and to make some good arguments and maybe find some middle ground in your relationships. It seems important. It's a tough time because the tendency will be such that you just want to break out. But I'm thinking that a lot of very often through, I'm going to say through the 1st of July, it's interesting to just sort of let the dust settle and maybe there's something to be saved in your different relationships. All kinds of relationships, huh?
Well, right, because it's not just we think of romantic relationships, but there are so many other types of relationships can really have an impact on us.
Oh, for sure. Among other things, this is going to be a rough week on the stock market. We're going to see a lot of excitement. We're going to see a lot of false starts, a lot of false stops. It's going to be quite a roller coaster ride on the stock market, I'm thinking, especially until about the 1st of July because of Venus.
You know, I keep coming back to US politics because it's a bit of a mess right now, but I know that the conjunctions that we're seeing now were similar to what was going on in 1776.
Precisely.
Right. So what does this July 4th have in store?
Well, doesn't that sound familiar?
Right?
Yes, yes,
And
indeed.
Charles plus la
And
même chose.
for sure, it's just very interesting how these things are playing out. Once again, I've been doing a lot of reading this winter about these cycles. The most active one that we've seen in the last few months has been, again, the Saturn Pluto cycle that always talks about revolution, about radical change. The old heads are going to fall. There's got to be room for the new ways of thinking things through. Uranus is in place to create this attitude of revolution. Uranus was in the same position with Saturn and Pluto in 1968 and through the 70s, through the early 70s. This is when the flower revolution was going on. This is when people all over the world, in fact, it wasn't just the American hippies, but it was the new generation all over the world. And the people who were coming into the 20s were saying, we've had enough of the old regime, and that's what's happening now. It's exactly the same language. I think it's time to see pretty much exactly the same physical tendencies, the same physical reactions.
Well, good to know. I'm always curious about this because as things develop, it just feels bigger than it should be. You know what I mean? It's like something really enormous is going on right now.
That's the least we can say. That's right. It's not always, to our little lives, and we have things to take care of, and got to do the gardening, and got to take the dog out or to the vet. But as soon as we can step back and see some really, really big pictures, which is why I always like to kind of start with the big picture, because we've got to finally see where we can insert ourselves in these big pictures. And yes, the changes are there. I believe. I believe. And they are happening, and they seem to be happening on schedule. And for at least for this summer, they seem to be doing some very good things for us. So we can only just ride it out and go with the flow.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. What about like physical health for people? Is there anything about physical health during the summertime? There's all kinds of things that can happen to us.
And this is true. This is true with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. I'm thinking about overexertion. People are going to be out swimming. They're going to be out rock climbing. They're going to be out doing these terribly physical things. Be in shape, warm up before you get in the water. Be healthy before you even start with these extreme sports. And that in Aries, everything is extreme. The rock climbers are going to want to get out there on the roughest, the hardest, the highest rock. And everything just sort of goes double fast and double high and double strong. But that's okay. Records are there to be broken. But for heaven's sake, don't get your bones involved in there either. That's really what I'm thinking about mostly. In Aries, too, I think especially Aries births who are somewhat subject to sinus problems, also sensory problems involving ears, eyes, taste, nose, whatever, might have kind of a hard time. We'll be seeing new symptoms and maybe new allergies as well during this kind of time.
Interesting.
And we'll be very, very sensitive to all of us. We'll be very sensitive to sleeping pills, things
Well,
like that.
yeah, sleeping pills. Yes, the downers, which goes back to what you were talking about, a new kind of drug influx.
Mhm. True. Yeah, I think there's a new brand out there that's going to be knocking on our door sometime soon. And I wish people would be more intelligent about drug use in general and getting involved in really stupid drugs in particular.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of drug culture is not to be using your head.
Quite right. Quite right. Especially in Aries because it goes so over the top. The Aries mentality, and it shows up in planetary reactions as well. The Aries mentality is more, faster, stronger. Stronger isn't strong enough. It's got to be lots.
Right. A little
And
good, a lot is better.
yeah, that's a very dangerous tendency.
Yeah, it is. It is rather. So another thing that's coming up during this season, and it's actually just happening a few days from when we're recording this, is the solstice on June 21st.
And this is the essence. The sun is coming into the first degree of Cancer. Well, this is the longest day. This is the ultimate point of the summer, even if we haven't seen summer quite yet. But at least time-wise, sun-wise, sunshine that's available to us, this is the ultimate peak. It's a cardinal sign. It's very strong, but very temporary. I think we see typically the real onset of summer, long, hot summers, more in Leo than in Cancer. But meanwhile, the idea is there. And we have to take advantage of this cardinal energy. The cardinal energy is always in a peak. This is where we go, where our energies and our ideas are the strongest. So we can use this time for creative endeavors, certainly. Cancer and the moon are in charge of creativity, of imagination, of imagery. Fantastic. Pay attention to your dreams. They're going to be very interesting these days. And very interesting, I would say. I'm thinking of a whole creative influx happening now on all kinds of levels. But Cancer is extremely useful for that,
Cancer is a dreamy sign anyway.
for sure. For
Okay,
sure.
so if anybody in our audience listening right now is not sure what a solstice is, maybe they've heard of it and just know that it's, the start of summer, but not really understand what it is. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, let's see. Technically speaking, the Earth is at its farthest point from the sun during the summer. This is hard to imagine because it's really hot, at least in our climates. But in fact, it's at its farthest point. It's not a perfect circle around the sun. It's always a little bit more of an irregular elliptic, and the Earth is far from the sun. But at the same time, we have a maximum of solar input on our climate during the summer solstice. So it's where we start slipping down. We've been, the northern hemisphere has been up here. The sun has been just basking on the northern hemisphere all this time. Oh no, now the earth is going to shift a bit and it all becomes evened out. The days and the nights become evened out as we approach again the equinox. So we have to take advantage of this maximum solar input. Again, it's going to create during the period of lunar energy. It's also lunar input, which is why this new moon is kind of interesting. Always, it's right on top of this connection, this conjunction is right on top of this maximum solar input. So we've got the sun and the moon just beaming down on us and saying, get busy out there. Just have a good time and think things over. There's so much to do. There's so much excitement. And it's a very nice new moon for that reason, in fact. Yeah, that's about it. With the solstice, it's maximum sun, maximum exposure to the sun for us in the north. And yeah, music.
Ah, that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's a lot going on, as there always is, in Cancer 2025. Recap some difficult times for legal issues. Watch your head, watch your back out there in terms of summer sports and all of that. Creative times ahead could be good news for the Middle East. So,
True. Just coming back to our couples and other types of partnerships. The summer, people are off on vacation. Good couples, bad couples, easy couples, hard couples, especially if you're out traveling. There's something about being together in a concentrated and maybe strange situation under a beating sun, and there's nowhere to go except with each other, that makes a bad couple get worse and makes a bad relationship go sour. If you find yourself in a situation like this, I'm saying, especially this year, be patient, give it a try. If you come back in August, September, and things have really fallen, at least you know why. But it's important not to just throw the baby out with the bathwater during this particular time.
yeah, I keep coming back to The Twilight Zone, that old show.
Yeah.
And there was an episode where they were talking about the warmer it gets at night, more crime, tempers are flared,
Yeah.
going to the emergency room because we're out of sorts. We're tired of being hot.
That's cranky.
Cranky.
That's when you get, cranky kids are bad enough, but you get a bunch of drunken, cranky, and angry adults. I mean, things can go really, really pear-shaped. Just, keep calm, keep cool, drink your pina coladas with moderation, but cool. And
Water.
water, lots of water. Heck, we'll try to get through this.
Right. Okay. Lots going on. I think staying hydrated is probably one of the best things we can do for ourselves.
It's probably true.
So, fun summer ahead. Fun summer ahead. Is there anything else that we've not talked about that you think is important?
I think not. I think this first week, I'm saying, even up until the 1st of July or 5th of July, is going to be the hot spot. And then with the new moon, we'll sort of get things moving along a little bit faster. So, yeah, just get past this hump, and then it should be some pretty smooth sailing.
Oh, good, 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 good. Glad to hear that. Summer's really my favorite time of year. I love it. Love it.
Well, yeah.
This is a global report, of course. How can people make an appointment with you to get their chart done and to know how these global reports are going to sit with them?
Well, I think it's important to do because the things we've been talking about are vast and universally important, of course, but how to make them come home, how to use this energy in your life is to go to at Radiate Wellness Community, or I'm on the staff there, and I would gladly pull together a natal chart for you. The natal chart, this is where we start off, and it's very important to know where your planets are and how they're going to be responding to these planetary movements that we talk about. So, yeah, it's time to get up close and personal.
And again, that website is radiatewellnesscommunity.com, and go to the appointments tab and make an appointment for a natal chart.
You bet.
First step. All right. Well, we'll see you again in Leo, my home sign. Love summer and have a great midsummer, everybody. We'll see you in Leo.
Good. So long.